think that's where a lot of people go bad with a pup. They throw them in a pen and just throw feed to them every day. And to me, you got to make a connection with them. Some guys don't agree with me on that, but I think you got to have a good bond with a dog.
It's real simple, I think, with a pup, and a lot of people don't understand it. When a pup is ready to start, it will start. You can't force a pup to start, and you can't force a pup to treat. It has to do it on its own.
Hello again, and you're listening to the Stark Outdoors podcast. I'm your host, Clayton Stark. In this episode, I actually went and hunted with Chad McCoin and Brad Hile again. They're the guys that have Black River Kennels. They have the really nice black and tan Coonhounds. So we got together, and I ended up sitting down with them and doing a little interview for you guys. And then after the interview, we went to the woods and I made one of my videos. But before we get into the interview, I'll share some announcements with you guys. This last weekend, I actually went and filmed part of a Christmas special that'll air on Christmas Day. And that will be a video on YouTube. It'll probably be about an hour long at least. Burchell Davis, the guy that owns Frogger, had a chili dinner for all the local coon hunters. And there ended up being around 30 people show up, and actually got to sit down and interview a lot of them. And it was a really great time, and we had dinner and talked for a few hours. A bunch of us got together and hit the woods. We hunted world champion Frogger and a bunch of his pups. They all did really well. We treated quite a bit of coon, and as always, they sound good. And the one pup we hunted with, I posted some videos of him on Facebook and TikTok and stuff, but he was a 6-month-old pup, and it was that dog's 4th night in the woods, and we hunted him with Frogger. They both went screaming into the woods, and they both struck a track, and that 6-month-old pup split treed from Frogger, and then after we checked his tree, we recut him, and he then went and treed with Frogger, and it's just something you have to hear to believe. So I'll just share the audio with you guys so you can hear this. And keep in mind, this is a 6-month-old pup, and this audio was recorded when the dogs were about 600 to 700 yards away, according to the Garmin.
That old pup thinks he's got him.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure the audio comes through pretty good on your guys' end, but if you were there in person, it was something truly gave me goosebumps. I've never heard a pup sound like that before, and that pup has a really bright future. And those will be the dogs that you'll get to see in that video that'll air on Christmas Day, so I hope you're really looking forward to that. And something I want to share with you guys, if you follow me on Facebook and Instagram and stuff, in that video at the end, I'm going to have a Christmas card section, so if you and your family have a Christmas card made up, or if you have any pictures with you and your kids, or anything like that you'd like to share with me, especially getting the youth involved, please send me a message on Facebook with it, because when I interviewed those older guys at that chili dinner, I asked them something they'd like to give advice to the youth or something they'd like to see, and all of them said they wanted to see more families get involved with it, especially the younger generations. And I do see a lot of younger people getting involved, especially from after watching my videos and having them reach out to me. So if you could, send me pictures of you and your kids in the woods, just so I can add that to the end of the video as a little gift to them, to show that what they did with me when I was a kid as far as getting me involved with this sport has really paid off in the long run. and I'm paying it forward and getting more youth involved, including my own children. So if you want to be featured in that Christmas special, if you, like I said, if it's a Christmas card or a photo of you and your kids and your dogs in the woods hunting or doing whatever, just could be deer hunting, coon hunting, squirrel hunting, whatever, but if you got your kid out in the woods being raised the right way, and if you want to be featured in that video, just send me a message on Facebook and I'll add you to the video. And speaking of videos, my last video that just premiered this previous Sunday is when I went hunting with stylish little Whitey, and he's a pretty good hound, and we went hunting with him and some of the pups out of him. And that video had Dylan Eberly, William Cordy, Chad Showalter, Greg Mayer, and his son Braden Mayer. And in that video, it was 9 degrees with like 25-mile-an-hour winds, but we still treated some coon. It was a really, really rough hunt, but the dogs looked pretty good. And that video's up on my channel right now. And remember, if you want to see any of these videos early in advance before everyone else, you can check out my Patreon page. So just go to www.patreon.com/starkoutdoors and become a subscriber on there, and you get access to content that's already posted. I post my podcast and all my YouTube videos at least a week early on that platform. And I take fan requests for videos and post stuff on there that I don't post anywhere else, like exclusive videos and live action as I'm actually in the woods. So if you want to check that out, it's pretty interesting, and I know you'll like it. Also, if you're listening to this and you're not a subscriber on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and that's where you can actually see all these dogs in action and get to know the handlers as well. I hope you guys are enjoying this content, and that's pretty much all the announcements I got for you guys right now, so it won't keep you anymore. And now here's the interview from when I went hunting with Chad McCoin and Brad Hile. All right, so I'm sitting here with Chad and Brad. As many of you know, I hunted with them about 6 months ago, I think what you said.
Yeah.
And these are the guys that have the black and tans. So you'll remember them from my YouTube channel. They have some pretty good black and tans. And if you haven't seen that video, you should probably go check it out. Because to me, they're the best black and tans that I've been in the woods with, other than my Uncle Ross. And that was back when I was a kid. I haven't really seen black and tans that'll actually hunt hard and tree hard like your guys' dogs do. So they're worth checking out.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here again. It's always fun to go. But do you just want to tell me a little bit about yourself, Chad? Introduce kind of who you are.
I'm Chad McCoin, and I'm 41 years old, and I shoe horses for a living. And I've been hunting this line of black dogs for 20 plus years. And like I used to hunt Blueticks. I was just a pleasure hunter for years. And I just decided one day, hey, I had these black dogs, and I'm going to go win some coon hunts. And we just started going to the hunts, and the rest is history so far.
So you told me a little bit in the video about how you got your first black dog, but since this is a different audience, you want to tell me how you came to get your first black and tan?
Well, the first black and tan I ever got, I don't know if I told this in the video, but I had a dog. My dad, he just liked to go to dog traders and buy dogs, but he heard this guy had a black and tan pup. It was like a year old, and he said it never been out in the woods by itself or nothing. But he'd worked it on a cage coon. So the night we bought it for like $400, go to the woods, it trees 4 coon.
Jeez.
Like by itself. I was like, I was probably 11, 12, and I was just amazed. So I remember I had him maybe 2 weeks, and he was off a dog named Big Whiskey Pete, and I think that dog had placed at Autumn Oaks or something. But my dad's like, don't hunt him on that moonlit night. He's a young dog. He might run some off game or something. I remember I turned him loose about 2 miles from the highway, and he struck a deer. And which I didn't have a Garmin or nothing then, so I didn't know where he went. So Dad drove around. We drove around the block, and we come up on the highway, and he was dead on the highway.
Jeez.
So then I had other dogs. I had walkers and Blueticks. But the hammer dog that started this line of dogs that I'm hunting, I remember he was for sale at Autumn Oaks, and he was like a little over a year old. And the kid had a flyer made up, said Black River Hammer. And he said he'd treed like 80-some coons with this dog. So then I was like, I took the flyer. He wanted $900 for him. And I was like, I'll give you $500. And he was like, no, he's a better dog than that. So he'd actually sold him, and he called me like probably a week or two after Autumn Oaks, said that the guy was bringing him back because he hunted too far. So then I was like, yeah, I'll try him. He's like, I need truck insurance money. And it was like $700. So he brings the dog over here, and I'm hunting blue dogs, and Brad was with me. And I thought I had a pretty good blue dog at the time. And this was before I really went to the hunts. And we turned Hammer loose, and I think he treed 4 or 5 coon on that dog, didn't he, Brad?
Oh, yeah. In a hardwoods.
And I mean, I took him to the hardest woods I thought I had, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I couldn't. So then we get back to the house, and the kid's like, I need some money. So I had like this junk 22, I forget, it was like one of them Romanian 22s. I said, I'll give you like $625, I think it was, in that gun. And he took it,
Jeez.
And that Hammer dog was like, he was just so independent. It's just unbelievable how a dog would hunt that hard and be that independent naturally. Natural. And that's just what I've kind of tried to base all these other dogs on is, I didn't realize what Hammer really was at the time because that was long before I really competition hunted. Mm-hmm. And to have a dog like him today is unbelievable. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And so that's, like I said, and Brad, he just hunted whatever, he hunted blue dogs, walkers, he hunted whatever too. And we just kind of stuck with this line, and he bought into some of these dogs that we own together.
So you mentioned Brad. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Brad Hile. I've known Chad since high school. I knew he coon hunted a lot. I never did. I just deer hunted like everybody else.
Yeah.
You heard the stories. Don't them coon hunters mess up your deer, stuff like that. And I thought, well, one time I'll try it, So he took me out. I think we were 16.
Probably
16 or 17.
A walker dog named Jill.
We went and killed some, and I had a good time. I was like, all right, yeah, this is all right, Then, I don't know, maybe a year or two later, I started really hanging out with Shane Smith, and he always had walker dogs. And I got a walker dog off of his dog, and we'd go hunting all the time, and then I was like, I just didn't like that dog. Well, then I got me a good blue dog, and that, that really got me hooked. Yeah. And then me and Chad would start going to these hunts, but we were lazy competition hunters. We wouldn't hunt these dogs after kill season, and then about April would roll around, and we thought, we gotta go hunting. So these dogs would be hog fat. And we'd go to the hunt, and we'd learn a lot of lessons, $20 at a time.
Oh, yeah.
And then we started just, progressing, and we decided this was something we wanted to do, and we started really trying. And then when we started really trying is when we started succeeding. You just got to put the effort in.
Mm-hmm. So that was, Chad, you said that was your first, the black and tan that you had was
the first
Hammer.
One. Yeah, well...
Not the very first one.
Hammer
pup.
was the first one off of this line of dogs that, and that was like 20 plus years ago. I was probably 19 or 18 or so when I got Hammer.
Probably.
And I would go dabble in the hunts just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was always nervous, I'd wake up that morning that there was a hunt that evening, and my guts all tore up, just nervous as all get out, and I remember Hammer would be treed in there, and I was afraid to tree him, and I was like, and I had a guy steal the tree out from under me, and I lost the hunt because I'm like, what the heck, And the more hunts I went to, and I just, like I said, Buddy was the first dog that I really competition hunted, and I made it a point. I remember when I got Buddy from Dana White, is I'm like, I'm going to make this dog famous. That was my goal. I'd see all these magazine dogs, and I'd be like, man, I just want to be in the magazine one day. And me and Brad, he had the blue dog named Ben, I think it was at the time.
Yeah. And
we'd hunt them two together, and they was always split treeing. And I think I shot like 45 coon to Buddy. That he's probably like 14, 15 months old that kill season. And then I just started going to the hunts, and he was just dominating. It was just unbelievable how that dog was so successful, and I was definitely no handler because, I'm learning as I'm going.
Yeah.
But it helps when a dog's by himself and you just tree him,
you know. That takes a lot of
Oh,
the
yeah.
handler's job out of it if the dog is competing like it should. What was that dog out of?
Buddy was off of a dog named Black River Roy, and actually, I'm trying to think, man, I'm drawing a blank here. And his mom, was a female named Jill, who was off of Nelson's Northern Cash. But he was just PR bred. He didn't have no night champions or grand night. He wasn't nothing out of. But Dana and Freeland White, they didn't really competition hunt. So a lot of their dogs was just PR.
Yeah.
Coon
But
dogs.
They was.
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
knew what they were doing.
They knew exactly what they was doing. Like they would call hard. They just, if the dog was mediocre, they wasn't breeding it, and
Right.
it's like they just bred the naturals.
Mm-hmm. I wish I could get my hands on one of those. those are the best ones to get because they're the least amount of headaches, at least in my experience. You said you had a Bluetick named Ben. Do you remember what he was out of?
Wills Creek Blue Ben. I remember I seen I was over at Chad's and I was just messing around on the internet.
The UKC board.
Yeah, and
I think he came from like around Columbus, Ohio.
yeah, he was way over there. We just decided. I was like, I'm gonna buy this dog, off the chain.
Yeah.
Which is pretty risky.
I think
Yeah.
he paid like $1,500.
Yeah, so I was like, let's go. So, went over there and picked him up, come back, and he was a pretty good dog. But he had, his one fault was, in a hunt, he wouldn't stay for more than like 4.5 minutes.
No.
He'd be split, but then if you didn't get in there, because he was just used to me getting in there and rolling the
Right.
coon out. And,
He's a pleasure dog deluxe.
but he could treat the ones that freeze you to death. And, you'd stand out there and just freeze. He'd get her treed, but
Do you remember how he was bred?
I just remember Wills
Creek. Something.
He had a lot of Utchman
Hutchman.
and Northern Jet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot of blue dogs have Jet, Hutchman,
Yeah.
or Smoky River.
Yeah,
That's
I took him down there to. I still had him when they had the
Winter
25th,
Classic.
the 25th one down there in Georgia still,
Yeah.
and I thought, well, he'll do good down there. We get down there and it was just. I had a couple bad draws on places. There was no water, no feed,
Yeah.
And the first, I remember the first 40 minutes, he hadn't even struck in. 2 dogs had already minused out. He got treed, had a den, and I recut him, and the hunt was over. That was a 2-hour hunt.
Jeez.
It was horrible. The other dog never even got struck in. It was just it was horrible.
I remember I bought this. This is when I had Hammer, and he wasn't a night champion yet at the time. And I remember you'd get on the board, the UKC board, and you'd look at all these dogs for sale. And I remember seeing this 15, 16-month-old dog named Night Champion Scooby Doo, and I was like, oh man, he's a night champion. The guy wants like $3,000 for him. I was like, he's got to be good, And I remember I'd drive to Missouri and meet this guy. Like, I wanted to try the dog, but the guy's like, he gave me every excuse. Oh, you can call this guy or this guy, and he's a good dog, So I buy this dog, and he's a beautiful dog. Like, I'm just tickled. I got him a night champion. That's what I was thinking. So I bring him home, and the first night I turned this dog loose, it was back here behind the barn. And he goes, I was hunting this other, I think I had an English dog too. I turned them loose, and all of a sudden they wasn't but 100 yards away. All of a sudden they got real far away. I'm like, what the heck? They'd put a tile in this field, and the dogs had went in, and they was in a 1/4 mile in this tile.
Oh, jeez.
And the tile converted down to a 15-inch and is right at the riser. So I'm like, call my dad at like 1 o'clock in the morning. He gets out of bed, comes down there with a shovel and a saw. We get this dog out. So then I'm like freaking out. I got this $3,000 dog at the time, which I thought was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I the next day I called the insurance place. I put insurance on this dog. So then I take this dog hunting. And I'll be honest, he was like the most worthless dog I ever bought in my life. And he went hardly hunt by himself. He treated more possums than he ever did coon.
Oh, way more.
And Brad had a $500 3-legged blue dog at the time named Chipper. And we went hunting, and that dog treated like 3 coon on me. And I was like sick. And he was just rubbing it in, After I was like suicidal. And I ended up getting rid of that dog. But that dog ended up winning some bigger hunts, and believe me, I don't know how.
I don't. Got to be good handlers.
I mean, he won AKC Black and Tan days and won one of them Kawasaki mules.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, what? I mean, like, and then Hammer would destroy that dog, like when we'd go hunting. You know, because I was just blinded. I thought a night champion had to be great,
Yeah.
you know, or good, and no, I learned real hard. I was like, titles don't mean everything.
I'm glad you said that because I've ran into that a few times now with dogs and other people I've talked to. They put a lot of stock into titles on a dog, and like you were saying about those people you got those black and tans from that didn't competition hunt, but they were breeding a coon dog to a coon dog. So if people are listening to this out here, because I have a lot of people ask me like how to pick a pup or how to get a dog. If you can hunt with the dog or see the dog and meet do that first with the parents of the dog. That way you know what you're getting. And I almost regret saying this because it makes people sound bad, but if there's a dog around a year old and there's a coon hunter that coon hunts a lot selling it, there's a reason why it's for sale. Because if it was something someone really wanted, it wouldn't be for sale necessarily. Unless
exactly
they
right.
have 3 or 4 out of a litter that are really coming on, but I don't unless it's, especially nowadays, unless it has a pretty hefty price tag, a real good one's not going to. It seems like when I was a kid, you could get better quality dogs for a lot cheaper. And now, I don't know if it's because there's just so few pleasure hunters anymore compared to 20, 30 years ago. Or...
And I'd say, you know, most pups sell today for $500.
Yeah.
So if somebody has a year-old dog that's paid up or whatever, and they want $500 to $1,000 and it started, I mean, it's probably not what you're looking for. I mean, because in my opinion, them started good dogs are worth a lot more money than that.
Yeah.
And like I said, the whole title thing.
Oh, it's easy now. Now you just got to win so many casts. You don't have to. Before, when me and Chad were doing it, you there might be 4 or 5 casts and night champions. Mm-hmm. You had to have the number 1 score.
Yeah.
To even get that, you know. Now it's just win your cast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of these club hunts don't hardly have very many casts show up.
No.
And I've seen some of these people tell me they was the only dog there. And I'm like, come on now, you know. That's why I kind of like my dogs to win at the bigger hunts.
Right.
Because you know there was a lot of dogs there.
Yeah.
And you're competing. And most of the time, pretty good dogs.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. Anymore, the people that competition hunt, I don't think it's as big as far as number-wise. I think there's fewer people in it. And the quality of competition is higher. I think that's why you're seeing so many like the big money hunts. Is there's just,
and you know the coons, the fur market ain't worth nothing. So the pleasure hunters that used to train dogs, in my opinion, that would just get a dog going really good, and they'd sell them, and then people that wanted to go to the hunts, they'd buy them dogs from these pleasure hunters. And now that ain't like it is. So now I think it made these dogs worth more because to really train one to compete, you got to put a lot of time in it.
And there's a lot less people doing that.
Oh, yeah. And that's why I think the dog market is just so high right now.
That's probably because just thinking of people off the top of my head that were pleasure hunter type people like that would have 10 dogs in their yard that they hunted and worked with and raised. Like, there's not a lot of people out there that do that anymore. A lot of people have just a few dogs that they might hunt in hunts. There's not a lot of people that have a yard full of dogs and raise, and you know what I mean?
No, it's gone. It's over. The club down the road, the Marion Club, it used to have 30, 40 people there every hunt all the time.
That, and like some of these hunts, I mean, you can win trucks and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, if you're going to put your time and effort into something, are you going to go to a $20 local club? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And there's something like that almost every weekend now. You can, if you have the money and ability to travel, you can go compete for a good chunk of money or a big prize. So that's where if I had the best dog, that's what I would be doing.
Yeah, if you was really confident and had endless money to go to these hunts.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to see me going to those $6,500 hunts, but, you know, my dog could probably very well compete, but I just wouldn't want to lose that much money, because they're dogs.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to gamble with, and especially like you said, they're dogs. So I mean, it could go really, really well, and
I mean, you could make a tree that could be a leaning tree, the dog, and it's blank.
yeah,
Like, it's just the luck of
yeah.
the
You
draw.
you don't know.
We don't have automatic dogs. We need faster strike. Going in for a quarter and 100 is no good.
Yeah.
Or even 50, when they get in an hour hunt anymore.
Right.
They get split up so bad the hunt's over. Your leash locked out. And then,
Yeah,
oh, you had a 175. Well, this guy had 200.
yeah. And some of the dogs I've hunted with lately, they've been, especially as dry as it's been,
Yeah.
and cold. They haven't been opening much on the ground at all, and. But they tree, they have coon. And to me, that's if I'm looking to get a dog just for pleasure hunting or even competition, and to me, that's more important than anything. But I know the strike points, the ability to get, I mean, that's huge.
I mean,
it
if you
is.
look at the dogs that are winning big right now, most every one of them are struck before the minute.
Yeah.
And they'll carry that strike on. And when they tree, they got coons.
Yeah.
My old Buffy dog was exactly like that. And she won a lot of hunts because of that.
Yeah, I won a real lot.
I mean, but it's just all on what you want to hunt. I mean, if you want to win coon hunts,
Yeah.
you don't care how he strikes.
Right. As long as it puts the points
Yeah.
on the paper. So you had the hammer dog, and then the next one was
Was Buddy.
Buddy,
Yeah.
and then
I got Blackie, which was off of Pipe Creek Black Magic, and Night Champion White's Black River Sally, they all came from Dana, which Hammer didn't. He came from Dustin Bell's, but Dana, I got Buddy from Blackie, and then
We went and picked up Boy and
Buffy.
Buffy.
They was litter mates, and they was Buddy's first litter. And they was like 9-10 months old. And then I ended up getting Rapper, which he was 8 or 9 months old. But they've all just came from that same line of dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And then pretty much I started breeding Buddy and producing all these other ones, and I'd take dogs off of them, which we have Sadie, and I had Buffy too. I mean, there's a pile of them.
Yeah.
I can't even think of them all.
So what's the current one you're hunting now? The most you think?
I
Poncho.
currently hunt Poncho and Lefty, and Brad hunts.
I got Cardi. I've been hunting her the most.
Yeah, Cardi
And
B.
then Sadie. But Sadie's, I think, almost 9.
Yeah, she's almost 9.
And I really haven't done her justice the last few years because we've had so many
Other.
young dogs.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, this one's got potential. Let's keep hunting it. And then you put the other one on the back burner.
Right.
And then she's 9. You're like, oh man, I gotta get her back out.
Yeah.
Before she dies.
Right. So I'll start with Chad. Do you have any preference on what you hunt, male versus female?
It seems like I always hunt the male dogs for some reason. I don't. But I mean, I used to hunt Buffy too and Buffy, but I always hunted Rapper and Buddy, and then Poncho and Lefty.
Mm-hmm.
And Brad seems to hunt all the females.
That's what I wondered, because the names you brought up, it was males and females. I don't know if I'm reading too much into this, but it seems like I've had better luck with male pups, starting them and getting them going myself, than I have females. And I don't know if that's...
Well, really, it's just nice. I keep all the females at my house when they come in heat. I don't have any males around.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just, I'll just keep hunting those.
Right.
That helps out a lot. I mean, I hunted Poncho there at the beginning when he was little, while Chad was still hunting Buddy and Rapper a little bit.
I think I was hunting Rapper more then.
Yeah, and then I just kind of switched over.
Have you noticed with your guys' line of dogs, do the males and females start relatively around the same time?
Honestly, they've all been anywhere from 6 months to a year old, it seems like.
Right.
Right now, I got one I call Little Hammer, and he's off of my Hammer semen, and Sadie, and he's a little more track-minded, which, you know, I'm not used to that as much. And but last night I took him, and he treed 3 coons.
Yeah.
He did a good job. But I think he's about 15 months old.
That's pretty good in the conditions we've had lately.
But he's got a huge mouth on him. But the way he hunts, it just drives me nuts. So if I drive out in the middle of the field and I cut this dog, he goes every which way, which I don't want him to go.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, the woods is here. You know, he's running back the other way
Yeah.
or something. I'm like, it's frustrating.
It's weird how some dogs are like that. It's like, it's nothing, you don't do anything different with that dog, but it's just like there's certain dogs, you turn them loose and they just have a mind of their own, and they just, whatever direction you want them to go, they don't go there.
Cardi was real bad at first. Chad hated her.
Oh,
He was ready for me to shoot her. We'd go somewhere. We'd put her like 20 yards in front of the woods. She'd turn around and run a mile behind us through the open field and then go get treed somewhere else. And in our country, it kind of sucks where I hunt because I'm just outside of town and it's busy.
Yeah. Yeah, you got, I mean, that'll definitely change where you hunt. If you have places that are anywhere near any highways or roads or anything, if you don't know for sure where they're going, then that'll eliminate some of your hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of woods that I would like to hunt, but they're just right along the highway. And
Yeah.
honestly, I can't contain some of these dogs because of the way they hunt.
Yeah, you were saying, was it Lefty the one that...
Lefty is a freak. I mean, I've never had... I mean, all my dogs have always hunted extremely well. But you can cut him. He'll tree a coon right in front of you.
Yeah.
But on this recut is where he'll kill you. So I can say he trees 200 yards away. I'll drive my Ranger within 100 of him and, you know, get out, go shoot the coon out, recast him. He will be a half a mile before I'm back to the Ranger.
Jeez.
And you're like, you know, he's crossing roads and everything, and you're like, man, alive, you know. I got like 4 woods I can hunt this dog in. Because, you know, some dogs, when you recast them, will lollygag. I don't know if you ever noticed that. Just kind of meander around you. It's like, he's like a bullet. He's just flying through there, and he's an ambush-style dog. And that's what wins a lot of coon hunts, because he's going to fly through there.
Yeah, he'll find a coon.
And find a coon.
We got a guest coming.
I guess my house dog decided to come in here. The wife must have let him out. Don't get tangled up here.
Is this a plot?
Yeah, my house dog is a plot hound named Timber.
He's really acting pretty good. Usually he's barking around.
Yeah,
causing all kinds of hell.
You know what he's out of?
He's actually, his dad was the #1 reproducing plot dog at, I think his name was Pioneer Hammer.
I've heard the Pioneer plots. I've heard of those.
I went to Tennessee because my other house dog that I had, actually, if you
I'll try and sneak him out.
Yeah. So I went to Tennessee to. Oh, he's not going to listen. No. Shut the door good, or he'll open it. He's wanting to come in. But no, when my old plot dog died, he was the Pioneer breeding, and I just had him as a house dog, and so I was like, well, I want another plot dog as a house dog. So we drive to Tennessee and get him. I get him from I think it was Bill Hicks, which was Gene Hicks's brother, who was a big black and tan guy.
Yeah.
And I go down there and I got him, but he's worthless. He's a house dog.
He could probably do some good. He's fast on rabbits.
Oh, yeah. He's a rabbit killer.
Looks good.
Oh yeah, he's a beautiful dog.
So, on my Patreon page, I asked people to ask if they had any questions for you guys. So I'll go into those now. I'll start with you this time. What has been your favorite dog that you've hunted, if you can say you've had one favorite?
Oh, I don't know. Probably Hammer was the first one I ever scored 1,000 with.
Yeah.
And I was pretty excited then,
Yeah.
you know. That was a long time ago, and I thought, man, you really got something when you tree 5 coon.
Right.
But I'd say Buffy, because she would strike instantly, and everybody would be looking at you like you're lying. And then she'd roll up treed before their dog even opened. You'd walk in there and you'd have the coon.
Yeah.
And she was a ton of fun. She was so action packed. I like those dogs.
Yeah.
I don't like standing there waiting kind of what like I got now is just too honest. I want something a little bit more action packed.
Yeah.
I'm on the board and they're trying to catch up.
Yeah. Especially when it's cold out, keep you moving. And
Yeah, but
keep the blood
Buffy
flowing.
was probably my favorite.
What about you? What?
I'd probably say Buddy. I mean, just because he's the one that really, I won a lot of hunts with, and I feel like he kind of made me known a little bit because, I just showed up out of nowhere and I started winning hunts. I mean, I won Walker days and English days and black and tan days, and he won it on them. Like, people's like, who's this guy with this black dog, And he was unbelievable. But I had another one I really liked, and she died. Her name was Muffy, and she was off of Hammer and Buffy, and I won the baby stakes with her, and she was just a ton of fun to hunt because she was just a coon dog. She just comb the woods and tree them all. So I'd say them was the top two, but Buddy probably the best.
I've asked that question to quite a few people, and it's very hard for them to answer because if you've been doing this for any amount of time, you think one dog, but then you remember another dog from maybe 10 years before that was just as good, or you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
If you've been doing it long enough, there's so many. If you're lucky, there's a lot of them that you have good memories with, and it's hard to.
Oh, it's real hard.
Narrow down.
I really liked a couple of my blue dogs. They were
Yeah.
just so much fun to pleasure hunt.
Mm-hmm.
We was just killing coon all the time. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that makes it. That's why I love pleasure hunting because you can just go out and go with like we're doing tonight. Just get together and go tree some coon. You don't have to worry about scoring nothing.
Yeah.
Just shooting coon out of a tree.
But back then, I mean, that's what we lived for. Them 88 days.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was our. So we it just seemed like it was more relaxed. Now it's like constant training year round.
Yeah.
It's not just go out kill some coon. It's
It's you're
training,
practicing.
Training.
I mean,
training.
Me and Brad hardly ever hunt together, other than like if we're trying to set a dog up.
Yeah.
And honestly, you can't hardly set our dogs up with each other because
Naturally
they know.
independent.
Well,
Well, they know the gig.
they know what's going on. They're like, yeah. And they just know their buddies,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm always hunting 2 or 3 dogs, but I split drop them all. So it's hard to hunt with other people and give their dog a chance to, because I like to hunt my dogs by themselves. Because it's a pain in the butt to try to lead 2 dogs out of the woods for one.
Yeah, I'm the same way. If I have 2 dogs I want to hunt, I'll hunt one by them. I don't like hunting them together. Most time I'm hunting young dogs anyways, and I never have luck hunting multiple young dogs together.
It normally ends up in a
Oh,
disaster.
it is. We had a big coon, little coon contest as a benefit for a kid that got burnt in a fire, and it was snowing real bad that night. And I thought, well, we ain't going to tree hardly any coons, so I'm going to cut Sadie and my breed dog together, and I'm going to try and get a coon.
Yeah.
That was a mistake. One goes 900 one way, one goes 400 the other. And then I called Chad in a panic because I get up there to Sadie and it sounds all muffled. And she's in a log, probably 20 feet in this hollow log, fighting this coon. I can't get her back out.
Jeez.
I'm screaming at her. It's snowing.
I mean, it's probably 8-10 inches of snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was horrible. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I go get my other dog, go back, and Chad comes back with a chainsaw.
Cuts her out.
And we cut her out.
Well, what was funny is we had to go ask the guy, which we don't have permission to be in his woods, but that's where the dog is. Saying, hey, my dog's...
That's where the big coon are.
That's where the dog is, And he's like, what? He's an older gentleman. So he wants to go back there with us because I think he thinks that we're lying, So he's walking through the snow and he falls down, and I have to get him up, and I'm carrying the chainsaw and I think a big rod or something to try to pry it open. So we get back here and he's like amazed. He's like, what? Your dog's in that long? Yeah. So I fire this chainsaw up and I start sawing. Well, Sadie must have felt the vibration and she didn't like it. And she come flying out of that thing. And we got her out. I don't know if he allowed us. Did he allow us to get the coon or no?
No, we left it.
Yeah, I think we left it.
We were just happy to get her out.
So I'll ask you first. What do you consider your biggest win in your competition?
Oh, my biggest win. I'd say I won when Muffy won the baby stakes. I consider that pretty big. I would say probably that.
Okay.
But this year Poncho he tied for first with the Triple Crown, and I look back, and I end up getting beat on a tiebreaker, and it all started in the very first hunt of the Triple Crown, and it was at the Winter Classic, and I had to cast one. I won the night before. It was like 3-something, and I had 3-something the next night. Well, I haven't won, and he's treed. There's 7 minutes left in the hunt. I'm like, I don't have to tree him. I got it won. So I don't tree him.
Yeah.
And I go in there, and he's got a coon. Well, what I got beat on, I got beat by 200 points on the tiebreaker. I'd had 225. Oh, you know, and I would have won the Triple Crown.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've tried to not let it bother me, but it's bothered me a little bit. Thinking, man, you know what, your dog's tree it.
Yeah. I would try to let my mind not go and do that math.
Because I went all the way back to the Winter Classic when it started.
Make me sick.
And I'm like, that's why I got beat.
Yeah.
So.
What about you, Brad? You're probably your biggest achievement?
I don't know. I've done pretty good with Sadie, but with Buffy, I'd say when AKC Black and Tan Days won that one.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one, too.
That was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
I mean, you won Autumn Oaks, too.
I know.
It's
There's so many of them. I don't know what you...
Yeah, it's probably... At the time, they're all probably excited. I mean, you're excited for all of them.
I mean, well, it's like, for instance, I actually forgot. I mean, Poncho won the breed hunt this year for PKC.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Cardi B was the other dog in the cast.
Yeah.
So we got first and second.
Yeah.
So I mean that's
pretty good too.
That was a pretty big accomplishment to do that.
Yeah.
And which we've done that before also with Rapper and Sadie.
Yeah.
Brad won with Sadie.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. I mean, there's some.
You
should have told me about these questions. I could have wrote down. It's just hard to remember them all when you've been hunting for over 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never won nothing like the world. Now that would stick out, you know.
Yeah.
But
who are we going to be hunting tonight?
I imagine we'll take Poncho and Lefty and Brad. I brought
Sadie and Cardi B. We'll just see how the night
how
plays
time,
out.
yeah.
You know how late you want to stay and.
So I think I'll have to check. I think someone asked us if we could take Cardi B hunting. They wanted to see her.
Yeah, I got her.
Well.
Yeah, I forgot. I mean, we did pretty good with Sadie.
Yeah.
We won Black and Tan Days both.
Same year. She won both PKC and UKC Black and Tan Days.
All right. Well, get off here and actually go do some hunting.
All right.
Sounds good. I'm ready.
Well, that was a great interview, and I had a really good time with those guys. It's always fun to do some coon hunting with good dogs, especially if it's something other than walkers, because I've got so many good walkers in my area that's all I see for the most part, unless I go on one of my trips, which I love walkers, don't get me wrong, but I also love other breeds, and I like seeing them all go. And I really enjoy bringing all these different breeds to you guys. It makes it tough on me, though, because I already have a yard full of dogs, and when I go hunting with these guys, I end up wanting pups off all these dogs, because like Chad and Brad, they have added some really good black and tans over the years, and they've proven to be consistent reproducers, so I know the odds would be really good as far as getting a good one, and in the future, I'll probably get a black and tan from them. So I encourage you guys, if you're interested in the black and tan breed, these guys are doing a great job breeding dogs and producing quality coonhounds. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, and thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next time.
He ended up treeing 7/10 of a mile. Had my light on coming in, and he had another coon, so turned him loose 3 times. He had 3 coons.